Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another one of our Liquid Web Partner Community Education Opportunities. Today, I am joined by the fabulous Kim Doyle, co-founder of the Content Creators Planner. I use this. Kim, you were so kind to send one to me, and then my husband bought one. I gave mine away, and then I started using his, and now I've actually already made plans to buy it for several members of the team here at Liquid Web
Ooh.
because it really helped me think through what we were doing for our content on our side, and like just the way that you laid it out, I was like, okay, this makes sense, so much sense. So now it's like maybe my go-to Christmas gift this year. I don't know,
Oh my
but
gosh,
I mean,
fun, thanks.
right? Yeah. So anyway, so that's what Kim does. So she's co-founder of that planner. Highly recommend you check it out. It's one of my new favorite tools. And if you don't know already, sorry, I'm Lindsay Miller from the partner team at Liquid Web. And if you are not a part of our partner community and you want to be, we would love to hear from you. It's partner-team at liquidweb.com, and we will answer all of your fabulous questions. You get education opportunities just like this one, which will be recorded and put into our partner portal, and all kinds of other awesome stuff. So anyway, if you have questions as Kim is talking, post those into the chat box over here to the side of your GoToWebinar panel. We'll try to get to those at the end of the webinar today. And if you need anything else, just let us know. Without further ado, Kim
All
Doyle, please
right.
take it over.
All right, guys. So what I have is this is going to be very educational, ideally, and then I'm going to share how to use the planner towards the end of this. But my goal is for you to, a lot of people have hurdles when it comes to creating content, and I want you to get over those and start publishing. That is the quickest way. You're not going to get better at this if you don't do it. So, all right. So do I need to share my screen, Lindsay? Let's
Oh,
see. Or do
yes.
you
Look
do
at
that?
me. I'm already messing up. I'm gonna,
No, we were just talking before you guys about GoToWebinar, and it's been a while since I've used this specific tool. So,
you now
okay.
have the button to push to present your screen.
Okay, so, all right, you can see it. Awesome. Okay,
Yes.
guys, so, and I'm totally happy for questions in between. Lindsay, just jump in whenever. That's sort of how I roll. And if I'm talking too quickly, holler at me, because I will slow it down.
I'm guilty of that sometimes myself.
Yeah, bear with me, allergies. But anyway, so we're going to go over 7 steps to creating, promoting, and profiting with your content. This is the easiest way to create content that converts. Okay, so I'm going to go through this. And I hope you guys don't mind. I don't know why the presentation mode sort of throws me off a little bit. So if you guys can see the slides already, I'm going to leave these over on the left hand side here. So you're in the right place if you create content, and it doesn't matter if it's written, audio, or video, and are frustrated with the whole monetization thing, right? Like, how do I make money with my content? But you know you want to get your content to start converting to sales. Or maybe you're getting some results from your content, but you want to get more leads and customers. Or maybe your sales come from another method, paid traffic, groups, referrals, whatever, but you're tired of reinventing the wheel every time you want to bring in more traffic, right? I am a huge proponent of paid traffic. We run it for the planner. It's working great. At the same time, we have to create content, right? So there's a whole combo there that works. So you're in the right spot if this applies to you, and I'm hoping I hit everybody in there, and I've got some great stuff for you. All right. So here's what you're going to learn by hanging out today. A very specific, proven 7-step process to create, promote, and profit with your content, even if you've never sold anything to your audience before. And quick side note, Lindsay, I am happy to make these slides available afterwards. I have no problem doing that. And the one thing you need to do to have your audience start telling you what kind of content they want from you. And bear with me, guys, if I go off script, I kind of tend to do this. But the piece of this that I think, SEO seems to be making this big comeback. I don't know if you've noticed that Lindsay, and not that it's gone away, but I'm seeing a lot more courses on SEO come back, and all of a sudden people are going, oh, I guess I should probably optimize the property I own, right? At the same time, not everything you create and produce has to have that massive search value to create sales and connect with your audience, okay? We're going to talk about the secret to promoting your content so you get the very best customers and generate the most revenue. This literally changed my business. And the mistake that most people make when promoting their content, and I did this too, it will totally kill your sales and what you should do instead. All right, so a little bit about my story. By the way, you guys, that picture was my first Facebook profile. I posted it because it's just kind of funny. Like I've been doing this for a while. So I started online in 2008. First, I was the self-help chick, and then pivoted to the WordPress chick when I found WordPress and just thought the domain name was good. And now, as of, I would say, spring of 2018, I moved everything over to my personal brand, Kim Doyal. I had no idea what I was doing. I thought I was going to be the information millionaire selling ebooks, but instead I ended up building a list of freebie seekers. I didn't have influencer connections, and I struggled for a long time with imposter syndrome. I think we've all been there. And for me, it was because I ended up building websites in an outsourcing company, and I'm not a developer. I just fell in love with WordPress and showing everyday users how to do stuff with it. I just sort of shared the journey. But so it always felt like one of these things just doesn't belong here, even though I've got great connections and friends through that. So I'm going to fast forward. This was 2014 to 16. I was a part of this high ticket mastermind. And you guys, I had some amazing adventures. Hot air balloon, we raced Ferraris, conferences, going to Maui. Like all of this stuff was really great. And I'm not knocking any of it. However, it always sort of felt like something was off to me simply because I wasn't quite in alignment with what I was doing. I didn't want to be doing websites. I knew that there was something else I was supposed to do. And I kept trying to find that right fit, right? You guys, Tenacious is my middle name, I guess. 11 and a half years later, I'm still here. But I came back to what I knew was right for me, which was creating. I friggin' love to create stuff, right? Hundreds of podcast interviews, new relationships, strategies learned from thousands of hours of research, and those conversations really brought me back to what do I want to be doing? I tapped into these secrets and methods. And I have to say, guys, and I'm going to talk about podcasting, but sometimes it feels like I'm cheating. Like I get to spend an hour with this amazing person and pick their brain and hear their story. And I take a lot away from that, right? So I kind of became obsessed with showing up. That's another one of my hashtags. I don't know why I think I have to create hashtags, but just show up is another one. And I decided, look, I'm going to take the best of what I've learned and implement it. I tweaked, tested, and I did what felt right for me. But I kind of put my own unique spin on it. Were there mistakes and setbacks? Absolutely. And I'm going to share some of those and some that cost me a lot of money. But here's the thing, guys, success started to happen. This is what changed it all for me. The podcast, which was at the time the WordPress Chick podcast, it's now the Kim Doyal Show. I launched this in 2013 with zero attachment to this. And I'm going to tell you guys everything that I have done in my business without the immediate expectation of a dollar return is what has brought me the most money because my heart's in it. I totally got goosebumps. It happens to me all the time when I feel like I'm in alignment with something, but I did it because I wanted to have more fun. At the time, I think there was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 other WordPress podcasts. And I just thought, look, I need to have more fun in my business. I'd always wanted to be a speaker. I'd been a huge podcast listener, cassette tapes in my car. I'm totally dating myself, but for a long time. And so this podcast shifted everything for me, right? And I'm going to tell you, there's 3 things total that have completely changed my business. One was the podcast. Another one was I tested like doing a daily email, and I'll talk about that. And the daily email, when I did that, was simply because I wanted to test and learn and practice writing. And I'd been following someone who did that for a long time. And I thought, look, I'm going to follow this methodology. I'm going to trust that the right people are going to stay on my list. People are going to unsubscribe. And it quickly in the sense of, I don't know, within a month or 2, I tripled affiliate income for one product. And it was simply because I was testing this methodology and showing up, right? It was a commitment to myself to show up and be consistent with this one thing every day. The other thing is a Facebook group. I launched the Content Creators Facebook group with zero attachment too. I was like, look, I want a community of people that are not solely focused. I've been so heavy in the WordPress space, and God bless it. I love it. I'm grateful for it. I love people in that space. But again, I needed something that wasn't super developer centric. So I launched this Facebook group with the intention of simply sticking with it, being consistent, and letting it take me where it was going to take me, right? All of this was about providing value, having fun, and connecting with people. All right. So I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of data with content, right? So the podcast as of today probably has it has over 300,000 downloads. And I'm going to be super transparent with you guys. This year I've had some really personal difficulties. And so it's been not as consistent as I would like. But here's the thing. What I've learned most about being transparent and honest with your content is people appreciate that, they respect it, and they understand it, right? Life happens. However, this has worked for me. Through the podcast, I ended up with paid sponsorships that came to me. I never went seeking those. Coaching clients came to me through the podcast, $24,000 in coaching clients, not a bad return. I had multiple web projects when I was still doing websites from the podcast. And then for a time in there, I also did a done for you podcast service, which I got 5 podcast clients at $6,000 each. You guys, I'm not showing you this like, oh, look at all the money, but really all of these things came from one source of content, which was a podcast, and none of them were my primary source of income. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I will tell you, remember 2013, this has been a 6-year journey, and I've been consistent with the content minus, the last 6 months. So fast forward to today. Let's go ahead and just do this really quickly, 2019. But I've sold more in digital products and physical products now this year than I have in the previous 5 years. I pivoted to my personal brand, and all of the content that I create now supports where I'm going, right? It works for me. So I've created an amazing community on Facebook. It is almost at 4,000 creators. I think we're like 2 shy if you're not in the group. I've gotten speaking opportunities, interviews, product contributions, partnerships, and most importantly, you guys, my time is mine. I am so adamant when people ask me why you do this. Freedom is usually, a hardcore driver for entrepreneurs, and I get that. And for me, it's just, I need a certain amount of white space in my life. And that's what this allows me. So the things on the bottom here, you're looking at, so this is a planner that Lindsay mentioned before. I have a free course, Content Traffic Kickstarter. I've got a paid course, Content Marketing Secrets. And this is the Facebook group. So within all this, you see where things start, even though it looks like a lot, it's like they start cohesively fitting together, right? So, alrighty, let's keep going. This is just connecting with people, right? So just some testimonials. I'm not going to read this to you guys, but one of these gal I know, her name is Yale, and she said, for the first time ever, I feel excited, expansive, and at ease around creating content. I think a lot of people have that sort of hang up with content. This is just a freedom piece, right, you guys? And none of this, right? So shift the photos from, and I love travel and I love great experiences. I'm not knocking that. These are my kids, top left. They took me to lunch for my birthday. I recently got back, well, a year and a half ago, into watercolors and drawing and all this stuff, hanging out at my sister's pool. This is my great aunt that I actually have the time to help my parents with. And then, hanging out with my dog. So this is just a little piece of the freedom and how it works for me. All right, so my entire business and life changed as a result of focusing on content, you guys. And trust me, if I can do it, so can you. It's about creating a system that works for you. Am I okay, Lindsay? I'm not going too fast. I want to kind of speed through this so we get to the content piece of it.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, great. So a couple of things to keep in mind, you guys. Take this one day at a time. So many people start getting in their heads about content, like, oh my God, I have to create epic posts. I have to create, 2,000, 2,500 word posts every week. How do I do that? How do I repurpose it? We're going to talk about a lot of that. And overthinking is not a requirement, nor is like hours and hours of research. All right. So this should be the goal of your content. The first and foremost will always be to help people. You want to solve their problems and or connect with them, right? Ideally, you're going to connect with them, but sometimes when you're doing a tutorial or how to do this or how to do that, there's not necessarily going to be a personal connection. However, you're instilling trust that you are someone that can help them, right? Number 2 is to generate traffic and revenue. Number 3, turn your fans and your audience into customers and continually bring in new ones. Obviously, we want to generate revenue even while you sleep, right? But it can, and I'll talk about a little bit of that. Provide as much value as possible, and I'm going to repeat it, but yes, you want to help people. That is the easiest way to grow your audience and convert content to sales. So here are some content myths. And again, get out of your head, you guys. I'm not a good writer. My first post on the WordPress chick reads so robotic, it's heinous. It's like a paragraph, and I'm like, who wrote that? But through practice, you get better at this. I can't get all the technical pieces working together. Who am I to teach something? I'm not an expert. There's already a lot of content on my subject available. And I'm just going to do a little side note here on this too, go off script, is there is a lot of content on the web, guys, but the market has matured. I really believe this. And so if you can do it better and a little bit more in depth, there's no reason you can't rank and use that content to connect and drive sales, right? There used to be a time when it was like you could throw up a listicle, 7 ways to do this, but it's very generic surface content. That stuff is not working anymore. Creating content takes too much time and can be overwhelming. Nobody becomes a customer through content. My content has to be perfect. I'm not ready to get started. Or I want to create content, but I have no idea where to start and what to publish. All right, usually everyone falls into two categories. You know exactly what type of content to create, go you, and how to promote it, but maybe you're not doing it consistently, or you aren't sure what type of content to create or where to begin when it comes to promoting and profiting from your content. Or maybe you know, but you're too in your head to pull the trigger, right? Which tends to be a lot of us. All right, so we're going to get into these 7 steps, and I'm going to give you examples of content under each of these steps, right? So the first one, everything is content. Yes, this is another one of my hashtags, but this came about when I just started relating stuff, and a lot of it was really that daily email that I did. It's a story style email, and it pivots from some sort of a story to sort of a business example, and then I would do one call to action. That was it. So number one, everything is content. The easiest thing to do is to share, right? So what you're looking at here, this was a podcast episode called Running a Business When Life Goes Sideways and My Secret Project. So this was a year ago, and I had, I don't know, high school was a challenge for my son and everything's great. We're on the other side of it, but it's really hard sometimes to be running a business. So I wanted to be transparent in the sense from what I was experiencing, it wasn't only my story to share. So I would say I was a little bit ambiguous about that out of respect to him, but I just wanted people to know, right? So I simply shared that. And my secret project, so again, this was last August, was the planner coming into play, right? So I kind of did both. But this episode, you simply share. So it doesn't have to be, there wasn't a ton of SEO value, but it was a great way to connect with my audience. And I gave them a teaser, right? So there's this piece of my secret project, something is coming, right? People like to have that, like, get ahead of things. All right, the other thing under everything is content is that you want to document. So what you're seeing here, this is a screenshot of the first layout for the weekly content for the planner, right? And you can see some red notes in here. So my business partner on the planner is Jody Hirsch. She is a brilliant, amazing designer. And so what we did with this, and I'll show you some pictures, but I drew out pen and paper, some of these layouts. We had all these long Zoom calls. So this first screenshot, oh my gosh, it was so exciting because I shared this in my Facebook group and I got tons of comments and engagement immediately. And so this was just August of last year, and I started getting these comments. So all I did, I'm teasing content as I'm creating it. Now you might be thinking, okay, Kim, well, I don't have a planner or this, but you're gonna see other types of content that I tease and I do the buildup. And ideally, we did do a landing page for this, and I'll show you because the brand's changed a little bit, but document what you're doing and push that out as content. So you don't want to be thinking from a content perspective, not everything has to be a formal piece of written audio or video content, right? Okay, then there's the create piece of everything as content. Now here is a long form, well, I don't know, long form, but there are 6 videos in this post, and it's using the Thrive Quiz Builder, right? So I did a step-by-step guide on how to use this quiz builder plugin for WordPress, and I created a checklist on things you're going to have ready in order to create your quiz and the things you're going to have to do to get ahead of this. And I made that available for download without even an opt-in. Okay, so obviously this piece, this is an affiliate income opportunity, but it's also a good piece of content and it's massive value, right? So all of that falls under the everything is content. Number 2, we're going to talk about the correct way to repurpose content. Please stop pushing everything everywhere. And I'm going to do a little bit of a side rant, so bear with me, guys. There are a lot of people out there teaching repurposing. You have to do what's right for you. My personal opinion on repurposing content is to do it smart and strategic as opposed to massive quantity, right? You'll see a lot of people are like, come and shoot 80 videos with us and create your content plan for the rest of the year. Well, the bottom line with that is that serves you, not your audience. Because I can guarantee you what I'm creating content about, in October of 2019 is not necessarily going to be what I want to be talking about in May of 2020. And not that it's not relevant, but there may be something more valuable to my audience next May than something I wanted to talk about in the fall. Does that make sense? And so a lot of that pushing and repurposing, just step back and say, does this benefit me or does this benefit my audience? Okay. So think about the context and how you feel. Like, what are you creating? Where do I like to share it? Where is my audience? What's sustainable, meaning evergreen? When I moved from the WordPress chick to Kim Doyal, I had to delete a ton of content, because plugins didn't exist. And I'm not saying not to do that stuff, but you have to be conscious of what you're doing, knowing it may have to be edited in the future. And where do you get the best results, you guys? There's so many different platforms today. Excuse me. You have to decide where you get results. And the best way to do that, obviously, is to check analytics. I get a ton of traffic from Facebook. I'm not going to stop marketing there. At the same time, there's a lot of opportunity, and it's not the only platform I use, but you want to think about what you're sharing, where you're sharing it, and how people engage, right?
Okay, Kim, I have to ask you a question so that I
Yep,
don't lose it. So when you switched your branding, you actually deleted content? You deleted stuff that you had created?
absolutely.
Okay. That's the first time I've ever heard that that's a good idea. Like I thought you were just like put it out there and let it be there and like collect all that like analytics gold. So can you unpack that for me just a little bit?
Yeah, well, if you stop to think about it, you go to my site and now it's very clear that I do content marketing, right? So it might frustrate somebody if they find a dated WordPress tutorial and they come to the site and they look for more WordPress tutorials and everything is old, right? And so
Hmm.
at the same time, is that my audience? Not
Yeah.
necessarily. So it kind of, don't get me wrong, it sucked. Like I was like, oh my God. Like, there was a time where I ranked #1 for WordPress website packages, right? And that was a page
Right.
I had published on my site years ago. But I come back to this place of, well, I know what works in terms of doing this. And yes, I'm not starting from scratch, but it's this rebuilding element. And now going through, I didn't delete everything, but there's definitely stuff that is dated. And so who does that serve, right? I mean, yes, it could drive
Hmm.
traffic for me, but when people come to the site, I want it to be very clear who I am, what I do, what I'm about. WordPress chick, WordPress tutorials. And that doesn't mean I won't do them in the future, by the way, but it's something that it doesn't serve people. So you have to come from that place. And it just felt incongruent with where I was going.
Yeah.
And not to get super
Hmm.
woo-woo, but I felt like it's not who I am and it's not how I want to move through the world. So
Yeah, no,
it's
that
all
makes
good.
total sense. And but so like a best practice would be like let's say I did do WordPress tutorials or something, is to every so often check that all of those tutorials and be like, do I need to update these? Or if they're totally obsolete, get rid of them.
Yeah. And at the same time, hear my heart, Lindsay, because I could have gone back and done a
Yeah,
little snippet at the top of the post and said, this has been updated. This plugin no longer exists. I totally could have done that.
right.
Fortunately, I would say probably the last year plus that I was running the WordPress chick, I really started pivoting to talking more about content marketing. But
Yeah.
it just didn't feel necessarily right. And at the same time, with this, without getting into setting up like a content hierarchy and all of that sort of stuff, which is super valuable, but I feel like that's going from 0 to 60 and you got to work your
Hmm.
way to 60, right?
Yeah.
So the deleting content, I'm sure there's plenty of people that would have said, what are you doing? Why'd you do this? It felt out of alignment for me.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me interrupt you. Keep going. This
Yeah,
is great
absolutely.
information.
Okay, cool. So here's the trick. So #3, what type of content people actually want from you? And you guys, it is not necessarily what you think. And I'm going to say this again, there is massive value in creating content that is completely based on SEO and search intent. You have to do that. I'm not saying that doesn't count, but again, you work your way up to that. So here's an example. Excuse me, wrong slide. All right, so this is a post and it's on my site, but the post was titled In Loving Memory and a Personal Message of Hope. And this was a post I wrote. My husband passed away in 2003 in a car accident. And this was, gosh, 2016, I think. And it was the first time since that loss that I woke up on that day and it wasn't the first thing on my mind, right? So it hit me a few hours later and I was really appreciative to be on the other side of that part of my story, right? And I felt gratitude and I felt hopeful and I looked at how far my kids and I had come and everything we'd done. So what I did, and this was a Sunday, you guys. So what I did is I emailed my list. Blew me away. Within, I don't know, an hour, I had at least 30 email responses back. And here's a little side note too. It's always been on my about page. That's a piece of my story, right? It's always been there. And you assume because you tell your story over and over that everyone's heard it. Well, they hadn't. So I thought, wow, this is fantastic. So then I took it, and I do this a lot, you guys. I will take an email I've written and I publish it as a blog post because it's a thought, it's story, it's coming from my heart. It might be tactical, but I do that a lot if there's value in it. And then of course I go and share it socially. But this is showing you that morning I got 17 comments, 280 social shares that day. And I was blown away by how many people said, thank you for sharing this, or I didn't know this piece of your story. So all of a sudden, this type of content connected me on a different level with people. Now, before I get into the other example, I don't have it in the slide, but here's another sideways Kim rant that turned into a great piece of content that drove traffic. I'm a Game of Thrones fan. Last spring, we all know it was the last season of Game of Thrones. And there was this huge, I don't know, there seemed to also be another movement online of people proudly proclaiming they'd never watched an episode of GOT, right? And I just thought, what is with that? Like, why you gotta like quit being a hater, right? People were doing this anti-GOT stance, and that was how it felt to me. And that's all I'm coming from is my perspective. So I sent an email out that said, nobody cares what you don't do. I was like, why on earth would you, excuse me, but piss on someone else's joy? It's a fun show, right? So I sort of did this ranty email about focus on where you're going, focus on the good things, focus on the joy, right? This negativity, and I'm not saying maybe the rant was negativity, right? So, but the point is, so I took that and I emailed out, got a ton of responses. Then I created a blog post about that. Do you know how many times other GOT fans found that and shared it? They were like, thank you for saying this. And again, what is the SEO value there? What is the traffic step? Well, the content itself drove traffic because it resonated with people. It gives you an insight into your personality and who you are and how you move through the world, right? I always try, my intention is to be kind and to be moving towards things. Not that I don't get snarky, but it resonated with a ton of people. So don't be afraid to create content and put it on your site. And you have to practice sort of that twist. So I don't remember how I twisted it into business, but maybe it was just on who you are and how you move the world. So that's another little piece. So this was another piece of content, right? This was a friend of mine who had really dove into Pinterest. This was in my Facebook group, you guys. This was not a public webinar. We did a live stream on how she went from, I don't know, 3,000 views to over 1 million in a short window of traffic from, not views, but traffic directly from Pinterest, because she really dove in and focused on it. Pinterest is a search engine for those of you who aren't familiar with that. But this is a point, right? So again, this is something that connects me with my audience. I'm providing value. There was nothing in this other than the education for myself, but to say to my group, free group, look, let's talk about another content strategy, right? So let people tell you what they want. And this says they want more Pinterest content. So I need to get on that. Number 4, how to consistently create content quickly, guys. This is another one I get so many times when people join the Facebook group. That's one of the questions we ask is, what's your biggest challenge around creating content? And side note, when you ask those questions, whether it's email or a survey or Facebook group, you guys, I have thousands of answers on people's biggest challenge, which then to me is helpful content that I can create, right? But here's a couple things. So this is sort of the consistently create content quickly. This is the piece. So look at, you can see when I had done this presentation, when I was creating it, what I did is I take screenshots all the time. I do this when I'm on a Zoom call. I take or a photo, not a screenshot necessarily, but I take a photo of who I'm talking to. I tag them. This is the story type content that keeps people interested in what you're doing, and it resonates with them, right? So really pick one platform, one place, one type of content, and focus on mastery, right? Practice instead of perfection. You guys, I can't, I don't know, no, I can't, my camera, my face isn't on, but I take my phone all the time, and there's times I'll be walking the dogs and I'm like shooting an Instagram story video and it's horrible, or I'm like, that's an awful angle. So I don't share it, but I practice. Ask questions. Like I said, in the Facebook group, I ask questions, and then you need to listen and you need to hit publish. So all of these pieces, and if somebody wants, I'm really good, not really good, but I guess I enjoy doing stuff off the fly, so I mean, even for Lindsay as an example with Liquid Web, I mean, each of these things, I don't know if you're or whoever creates content for the team, but I mean, an update to a website package, I would just take a phone screenshot and post that as a story on Instagram and Facebook and say, oh, we're so excited, we just upgraded our web packages, that whatever, anytime all of these pieces of content, and I kind of call it micro content, are great ways to keep publishing while you're working on maybe long form content or sort of that core content, right? Okay, so here's another example. Again, clearly I walk the dogs, but this is just a little insight. So all of this is content and story content. So here's the planner, and you can see this is what I had literally drawn out with pen and paper, started teasing people about the content. I am one of those stupid, nutty, I shouldn't say stupid, that's not very nice, but one of those nutty pumpkin spice people, right? So this was taking a picture of the first pumpkin spice latte of the year. And then again, here's a Zoom call with my business partner, Jody, and we're mapping out and talking through the planner as we were getting ready to create this. So all of this stuff is connecting me with my audience. Specifically, you see there's a balance of personal, and then there's this is what's going on with the business. This is what I'm working on. All right. So number 5 is the easiest promotion that builds anticipation and excitement. You guys, this was something I sort of stumbled onto accidentally. All right, so this is the Content Traffic Kickstarter course. I'm a little bit nutty. I like to, in Google Sheets, I do, color coordinated with the course or whatever. So what I started doing, I put up a landing page that this course was coming, and I started teasing it. So the first thing I did, and I did this in my Facebook group and social, was I just created the title slide and I shared, and it says Content Traffic Kickstarter. That's all I shared. I'm like, something's coming, right? And then these are screenshots of the Google Slides and then the spreadsheet for the work that I'm doing as I'm tracking this. So you can see, again, I'm getting all of these comments, likes, loves, but I'm telling people that something is coming. I'm letting them see. And this is a free course. There's a lot of content in here, but I'm letting people see as I go, right? So again, you might be thinking this is not per se website content. However, I'm going to show you how I turned all of this into website content too, right? Capturing leads. So these are not our colors. The logos stay the same. But this is probably where I've lost a ton of money in terms of not capturing leads as soon as possible. I tell every single person I know, the second you're going to do an opt-in, a course, a training, put a landing page up. I don't care if it's 6 months down the road, put a landing page up, talk about it, share it, continually communicate that this is what you're working on, right? But this builds anticipation and excitement. Hold on, I want to look at one thing. Oh, there we go. I want to make sure I had that other slide in here. So how your content pre-sells your customers is the next piece. And this goes into the documenting of the course, right? So here's another screenshot that I shared. So these are all the slides, right? Here's another teaser of what was coming. And so again, this is in the Facebook group. I also shared this in my Instagram feed. And I got a ton of engagement and people asking, what are you using to create your course? How are you doing that? And I'm like, you guys, this is Google Slides. This is all I did. And all of a sudden I'm building a relationship in the DM, right? So don't overlook those one-on-one interactions as well. But people see this and they're like, oh, wow, this is great. This is free content. So this is telling people, look what you're going to get. And yes, this pre-sell was for a free course. There's no reason you don't do this for a paid course though, too, right? Start teasing it out. Here's another one. So then I did an entire podcast episode on why I launched a totally free course. And I walked through start to finish how I planned it, my thought behind it, the reasoning behind it. I gave tips and recommendations on how to do that if you're thinking of doing a free course. But this then is an anchor piece of content, a core piece of content, whatever you want to call it, on my website, right? It's a podcast episode. It's a written post because anytime I do a solo show, I write the full post out first. I don't read it. I just try to keep myself on track. But most of my solo shows are 1,500 to 2,000 words, the written post. And then I make sure I've got links and I've got calls to action in there, right? Excuse me. And then lastly, all of your content can drive sales, right? So in this example, there's a couple pieces here, right? So you're looking at, this is more in depth of that Thrive Quiz Builder post. So this is video number 6. We're telling creating a category quiz and a unique page for your quiz. So this is a video. I've got the download the Thrive quick pre-checklist. Yeah, I'm like, that sounded weird when I said that. These are affiliate links, but all of this is driving sales. I've got 6 videos in this post and I've got links to an affiliate product. This can be links to your own course. Anything you want to do. It could be links to a friend's course as an affiliate. Whatever you're doing, links to a consulting call. So I have a content marketing client. We do content marketing for people, but so what we do, all of his written content, we transcribe posts, and then within it, it's a link to one specific page that we're only using for the written content, because you want to track and measure what's working. And it's to get on a strategy call, right, for their services. So all of your content can be driving to a specific call to action. Okay, so this is also in, what post was this? I think this was an email maybe, but this, again, linking to my free course, this is going to give me opt-ins, linking to a paid class, because what I'm going to tell you I did then, the content traffic Kickstarter that I did, that is such a mouthful, but I got 500 people, over 500 people opted into that for free in less than 10 days, because I'd been building up the excitement and anticipation. So then I thought, well, I'll teach a one-off $47 course on how I did it. And I called it List Explosion, or $49. So sorry for sliding through on that. Here's just some fun facts on content. I live by this. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. If I wanted something unfun, I'd go get a job with benefits. So again, my free course generated over 500 subscribers in less than 10 days. I haven't run paid traffic in a couple of years for Kim Doyal, but the content generates money every month through affiliate links or other courses, services. Because I create content and because I show up and walk the walk, in essence, I had launched, it was a content strategy course, and I simply mentioned it. I said, I'm going to do a beta of this. We're going to build it together. I've got the outline. And I'm going to tell you guys too, when you're super transparent about what you're doing, people are good with wherever you're at in the creation launch process of that, right? But I said, I only want 10 spots. Immediately, 5 people emailed me, said, I want a spot. I want a spot. So I had to create a payment link, right? And again, the podcast content resulted in sponsorship coaching and clients. So here's just a few quick tips. You don't have to be someone else, or you don't have to be a brilliant copywriter to write content that connects with your audience. If you have not listened to me before or connected with me, if you go read my content after having listened to this, you're going to hear that I write the way I talk, right? Consistency matters, and do it the best you can. Let go of the judgment of whether or not you missed a week or you didn't. And, I used to do a lot of this. If I hadn't emailed my list, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, da, 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 da. I don't do that anymore. When I'm ready to jump in, I just jump in and provide value. And I'm not negating apologizing, but there comes a point where just show up and give value. Being who you are matters. Just be you. When you're inspired, document what you're doing. And of course, using a system and a framework will save you tons of time and stress while increasing the bottom line. So content rocks. You guys know how I feel. It's fun, and it can transform your business and your life. Yes, that's a big, bold claim, but I truly believe it. It's done it for me. And I believe with every ounce of my being that if you're here today, you have amazing content within you, and you can get started right away. Like as an example, I'm not saying me, but take a picture. You're attending a webinar because you want to start increasing your content. All that stuff matters. So please remember this, and I'm going to get into the planner. I want to show you some of those pages, but nothing I've shared with you today is theory or it might work. This is exactly what I do in my business to generate traffic, leads, and sales every day. And I help people every day create content in a way that works for them. And it also attracts and converts the right customers. And you guys, I don't care what niche you're in. I have another content client who works with, she does medical practice consulting, right? And helps doctors' offices, or I think it's just doctors, not dentists or anything. But she goes in and she looks for holes in their business, right? So we started talking, looking for this, and she is thinking, how do I get, people to resonate with me? It's the stories. We recently did a blog post with her on how she found somebody had embezzled $35,000 from a practice because it processes and systems weren't in place. And so that's the blog post, the $35,000 loss case study. I forget the exact title. But so it doesn't matter what space you're in, the stories of how you work with your customers, with your clients, what you're doing, all of that is great content. It doesn't matter if you're just getting started or have an audience of thousands. Remember, it's about just showing up and taking action. And then just get back on the horse, create, promote, and profit. Go back if you're not in the mood. I did an email today for this webinar, and I told people, I was talking about sometimes we don't feel like it, right? And there's a time and a place for, I don't feel well. I'm in a mood. I can't create from that place, whatever that is. I'm not talking about that. But at the end of the day, if you're in that mood, go re-promote something you've already created. Oftentimes, people create it, they put it into a scheduling tool, and then they leave it alone. Go revisit that stuff that's already working for you. So remember, all of this is about providing value. solving a problem and connecting with people, driving free traffic that converts, growing your audience, generating revenue, turning your audience into customers and your customers into repeat customers, right? Consistent revenue. You guys, I don't know about you, but nothing beats notification of payment. That's my favorite email. But providing value, really, this is the most important. So I'm not going to go through the 7 steps, you guys, because we're kind of getting close on time, but I want to get into the planner pages. So all of these things can be applied and you can work your way through this. Again, everything is content. You'd be surprised when you just start sharing a story and how it applies and how it impacts you and your business and your customers. You'd be surprised at how well that really works. So not sure why you showed up today. Could be that you're crazy frustrated with publishing content to crickets and nothing you do leads to making money. It could be that you're making money, but you're sick and tired of trading time for dollars and you want some leverage. Maybe you showed up today because you've created content and it hasn't done much to help your business or your bottom line, or maybe you just wanted to hang out with Lindsay and I. So if there's one thing to take away, it's that I've cracked the code on creating, promoting, and profiting with content. That is such a mouthful. It's literally changed my world, you guys, and the world of my students, readers, whatever. And it's super replicable. You do not need to, go to a cabin in the woods and, go deep within. You can start publishing today. And you can make a lot of money from doing this. So you can apply this code or system for creating, promoting, and profiting with content. You have a choice, right? At the end of the day, it always comes down to choice. You can do it slow and figure it out using trial and error, taking some of what I've shared today, or you can do it quickly with the Content Creators Planner. Now, you guys, this is something that I'll tell you, in sharing pictures of the planner, and I'm going to show you. This is one of those things, and I'm going to get a smidgy woo-woo, and I'll try to rein it in, but where there's a quote, and I don't remember who said it, but it's nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. You guys, I've tried a lot of things that started, failed, didn't work. I'm very public about the challenges. I thought I was going to launch a SaaS product. It didn't work. That was a podcast episode. I mean, I do a lot of that recapping of the journey, right? And the Content Creators Planner came about because I got a little obsessed with a bullet journal, and then I thought, oh, this is too strict. I fell down this rabbit hole of journaling. There are like massive subcultures of people with millions of subscribers on YouTube. And I started looking at this, and then I started testing hashtags on Instagram, and it blew my mind. And I was like, why isn't there something for content? And it all came about because I reached out to Jody. We'd known each other for 5 years. We literally just met in person this year. And she knows InDesign. I said, you want to do this or can I hire you? And she's like, yeah. And so it's trusting those intuitive nudges also, I think, when it comes to your business. But with the Content Creators Planner, you guys, this solved a problem we had, right? And when in doubt, quote someone famous, you cannot be heard if you're not communicating. Gary Vee, love him, hate him, but the guy knows what he's doing. I'm not also a believer, as much as I love Gary Vee, I am not somebody that believes that it's just more. See what's working, double down where you can, but you need to be sane and happy in the middle of it. I saw a quote recently that said, alignment is the new hustle. I kind of believe that. So what is the Content Creators Planner? Are we good, Lindsay? Any questions or?
Yeah, we have questions, but I want to make sure that we're going to go over this as well, because I love the planner. So I want to make sure you show everybody.
Okay, great. So this is the planner. And I did a whole episode on when a failed Kickstarter leads to a successful product, if you want to hear the journey of that, because Kim thought it would be a great idea to do a Kickstarter December 3rd last year. So this is what the planner physically looks like. Now, inside the book too, I'm going to tell you guys, I did set up, we have a sample of a dummy business. So it walks you through. This is called the Ultimate Day Spa and Salon. And I'm going to go into the pages more specifically in a minute, and I've got some samples. But so you can see how to apply the strategy of the book. There's like a little tutorial sort of in the beginning. So the goal is to create campaigns, a monthly campaign. Then you're going to map your strategy and you're going to fill it in, right? So let me just jump into those pages. So sorry too if these pictures are a little bit blurry. I've actually, I justified buying a new iPad with the pencil so that I could mirror the screen. So those tutorials are coming. So this is a monthly campaign. Now, the purpose of this is that we want you to create content that are based on your business goals, right? So here are some solid examples of smart web goals, right? Increase traffic by 50% in 6 months, increase sales of X product online by 25%. You want to get specific. Add 1,500 new subscribers, connect with 10 people per week, right? So you see these examples. So on the monthly campaign page over here, we've got the month at the top. You would circle the month that you're creating the content. So the goal for the month, now this was an example for the planner, right? So goals for the month, sell 100 planners off of the website. Number 2 was 300 new email subscribers. And the third goal is launch the podcast to drive email subscribers. So then we move over to the content topics. What is the content we can create that is going to support the goals for the month? So creating a physical planner. We shared the story of the Kickstarter, the process, how that all worked. Measuring your content marketing is another type of content. Creativity published is the podcast we're going to be launching. And a story guide on the journaling space, meaning do stories or create a post, however we want to do it, on how big the space is. And what I'm going to say with this, and because obviously I'm talking to business owners and marketers, however, that space, that journaling space, is like this whole untapped market for people who do that, but also push content online, right? So then the next step is to decide on your calls to action. So here I'm saying that we need a lead magnet, and this is older, we have one. And I would put it as a website overlay. I would do in content. I would do an exit pop. We need to do a webinar on content strategy, maybe offer the planner as a subscription, and then joining the Facebook group. So this, I might be changing we might change the name of this because it says offer end goal, and someone's like, well, what's the difference? Well, the offer is what you're selling, okay? So it's not necessarily the end, it's the end goal of this process, but it is what are you selling that your content is going to lead people through at the end of the creation piece, right? So the goal is the planner. We wanted to sell the planner, either single planner or subscription. And what we'd be doing is we would email subscribers, did you buy your planner? Podcast listeners, the call to action always be buy the planner, Facebook group, buy the planner, right? So this was done a little bit ago, but you see, so creating a monthly campaign, I'm getting in my head of what content do I need to create that's going to support my business, and what is the process, the funnel, the flow, whatever, that's going to lead somebody to that sale, okay? Now, again, sorry, this is blurry. Then you're going to create your content strategy map based on the campaign goals, right? Excuse me.
It's blurry because you're not trying to like let us all see your plan.
So
You're
I'm going to be
hiding
ninja.
some of your stuff. Yeah.
Lindsay's totally got my back. I love it. So in this instance, a content goal is the new subscribers, right? So I've selected the content type. I'm going to write a blog post. It's going to be creating a physical planner, measuring your content marketing. So here's 3 blog posts. Another content type would be podcast. And here's the first, 5 episodes. And then we would do a live stream demoing the planner, showing each spread, workshop. And that's one of those that we have planned to do, hot seats, like helping somebody literally just map out their content. Obviously, there's no SEO research in that element if we do a hot seat, but doing a workshop and then measuring, doing a whole live stream on how to measure what your content's working. And then on the bottom here, this is your micro content. And so it says, on Facebook, I'm going to do a post link, I'm going to do a video, I'm going to use the hand-drawn images so you can see that then I'm taking this content and dropping it down. Now I'm going to side note, this is a boatload of content for a month, right, you guys? But you can see, okay, move it over to the next month. The goal is not that your planner has to be full. It's that you start bringing a lot of this into your awareness, your consciousness, and you start planning it out, right? Because if you can't measure what you can't track. What's the word I'm looking for? What's that saying? I apologize.
Gosh, I can't help you. I'm sorry.
But there's something about you can't tweak what you're not measuring or something. I don't know. Tweak is not the right word. Within the planner, and I'm going to tell you guys how I've taken this to create more content. So we have these 8 content types checklists, right? So we have blog posts, podcast, video, social, live stream, infographics, stories, and interactive content. So what I thought, this comes in the planner. We also offered this as just a lead magnet, right? But then I thought, oh my gosh, here's 8 great pieces of content. So I just published a printable. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but printables and templates are huge right now. Things are cyclical in this space, but as I said before, I think it's maturing and people are like, look, I need to go do my thing. So give me the tools to make what I need to do easy. So what I did was I did a long form post. It's almost 1,900 words, and this is on the Content Creators Planner website. So I did a post and we turned this checklist into a printable checklist, right? And then that's a call to action. It's a content upgrade. And the follow-up sequence from that content upgrade is to buy the planner. But now I'm going to publish a post for all 8 of these checklists. And what that's going to do, one, it provides valuable SEO content, because what I did within that post too, I was like, so let's say the section, and again, you can look at it, but under headline, I listed 5 resources for creating compelling headlines. Now, the next step is to reach out to all of those resources and say, hey, we included your link. Would you be interested in a link back or sharing this with your audience, right? Link building is not a comfort zone for me, but I'm going to do it. So all of a sudden I have this. Now, the other piece of this is by the time I get all 8 of these published, what you're going to see is we're going to be able to segment people, right? Oh, wow, we had more people opt into the podcast checklist than we had to the live stream checklist. But you'll be able to see. So we're also doing sort of this sideways segmenting just through these content upgrades, okay? So this is something we already had. A ton of work went into it, but now how can I take this and make it into more value that gets people to trust us if they're not ready to buy right now, right? Okay, so this is what the monthly calendar spread looks like. Topics, this is, you guys, there's no set way on how this works. You have to do this for you. Campaigns, on the bottom, we've got promotions, active funnels, sales goals. Now, I look at the monthly content calendar as, okay, do I have any campaigns going out? Meaning I've got a funnel, or I'm going to do a live stream or a podcast, sort of the bigger pieces of events surrounding content that are going to be happening. Maybe you've got a coupon going out. Maybe you've got a sale, any of that type of stuff, right? So that's how I look at the monthly content calendar. We've left these things blank intentionally. And by the way, guys, this is an undated 90-day planner, because we want you to be able to start anytime you need. And if you go sideways for 2 months, come back and pick it up again, right? This is then the weekly content calendar. So thought starters, this is sort of that micro content piece. I'm like, as an example, I might say, okay, I need to research hashtags on Instagram so I can see what's working there. Or I need to go join 3 tailwind tribes for Pinterest or something, those weird little side notes, right? You get to decide what this works like. So for each day, we've got a goal. It could be a sales goal. It could be an email goal. It could be a survive the day goal, whatever works for you. And then you've got blog, email, and social. So you write down, do I have a blog post? And down here, it's hard to see, but does it need editing? Is it in draft mode? Am I ready to publish it? Same thing for email. And then here you would just list, I've got 4 things going on Twitter, list them, same thing down here, right? So it's just duplicated. And then weekly tracking, this mirrors. I'll show you the tracking pages, but the point of this is maybe this week you just want to track email subscribers, and you've got 3 lead magnets out there. You've got a landing page, you've got content upgrades, and you've got your primary opt-in on your site. So you want to look at what happens this week. Maybe you're going live, you're doing a webinar, you're doing something. Is this giving you the return on value? So the monthly statistics, I'm sorry, Lindsay, this went so long, but on the left-hand side, I look at this as your money tracking, and the right-hand side is your traffic, right? So you can track product sales, email marketing. Obviously, there's always a call to action with email. Facebook Messenger, if you're using it, I totally believe in it. I don't have a ton of time for it yet, but I have gotten great results with Messenger in terms of showing up for live stream. I've not directly sold through that. And then any paid promotions, and then maybe down here something you want to craft for yourself. The right-hand side, here's your website traffic. This is basically Google Analytics, blog, podcast, video, other, and then you can create some other stats that you want to track yourself. Monthly review, huge believer in looking at what worked, what didn't work, what could I do differently? Did I, was I too ambitious with my content goals, whatever, or doodle, whatever works for you. Quarterly stats, same thing, but just measuring the quarter, what worked. And you guys, I'm going to tell you, as you fill this out, again, all of these are pictures, right? This is zoom in and talk about, I've planned my content. I'm excited about this, all that stuff. Everything is content, right? So just a couple, I'm almost done. The current state of content marketing. Content consumption on Facebook has increased by 57% in the past few years. Obviously, this is one piece of content, but look at this is also, if you guys ever want to look at some great stats, simply Google HubSpot marketing statistics. They update it every year, and it goes through email, content, video, all of it, right? But you can see all of the distribution channels, right? And I mean, there's so much opportunity here. So don't think that everything is saturated. So you can get a planner. The physical planner is $39. We do have a digital version that it's not an editable PDF, but you can pull it into tablet apps. You can use Notability on the iPad. I don't have an Android tablet, so I don't know. It's just contentcreatorsplanner.com. That's all I got. Questions?
Awesome. Dang, that was such good information, Kim. Thank you very much
You're so
for being
welcome.
here and doing that for us. So, okay, we have time. We're going to make time for just a couple of questions. If anyone else who's still listening in does have something that they want to know or ask more details about, pop that in that questions tab and we'll get to it. But I think what came in, and we have one question right away, is there a separation of, if you say content is everything, sharing a picture of your aunt having ice cream or walking the dogs and things like that, like, is there a separation between personal and business, or do you try to tie those posts into business somehow, or are you just trying to stay in the front of people's mind no matter what the content is?
Well, I think context is important, right? So a lot of the personal stuff tends to be more on my personal Facebook page or stories, right? Facebook, Instagram stories. So context is key. And I think the most important thing to remember is there's a difference between personal and private. Like I'm
Hmm.
not like a, dump my purse on the couch. Like here's my dirty laundry. I'm not one of those, but I will share, wins and losses, whatever, life kind of stuff. And I think so you have to decide. I'm a personal brand, so it makes a ton of sense. Now, if you're a company, then you want to share more personal. Like I love seeing one of my favorite, I think ConvertKit does a great job with their content. And I wish they would do more video. Like I watch some of their company retreats and stuff, and it gives me a different insight into the company that I want to do business with. So
Right.
and I always tell people baby step your way into it. You have to like, is this comfortable? Is this not comfortable?
Hmm.
And just I think if you're not sure, don't share it. It's just that simple. Like it looks, because here's the thing. One, people know I love my dogs. Two, they're like, oh, wow, you care about your family, right? So there's all these psychological triggers that happen when people consume a little bit of personal. And who doesn't sort of like that behind the scenes? I love behind
Yeah.
the scenes stuff. So I think it's a matter of getting very clear on the brand. And number two is, have you done it at all so that you step into it? And you have to do what feels right for you. I'm not one of those. I also don't want to live on stories 24/7. It comes and goes when I'm in the mood based on what's happening in my life, but I will
Right.
come back to it all the time and show up.
Okay, awesome. One more question and also a reminder. So anyone who registered for the webinar today, this recording will be emailed to you so that you'll have a copy of it. It's also available to all current partners in our partner portal, and you can see this on demand as well as any of our other educations that we've done throughout the year or previous to even 2019 and going forward. So if you're interested in that, reach out at partner-team@liquidweb.com and we would be happy to help you with it. Okay, final question, and then we will be done today. So I think my observation and maybe shock on deleting content got someone at least to be thinking. So Sadie asked, is there any other type of content that you require, like you think you should go back and delete or second guess or reassess after you create it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at your brand and one, the alignment piece. And the other, here's the other thing, you guys, is that if go and look at your analytics, right? I mean, numbers don't lie. But so if you go and look at your analytics and stuff and get really clear, again, for me, it was very simple in that I don't want to do that stuff. I'm shifting. Content marketing is completely my focus now. So if it's not in alignment with the brand, so the deleting content piece, it's just I don't know. I mean, something that I created 10 years ago. Now, mind you, like with the podcast, I shifted the name, but I kept the feed and I just changed the
Mm-hmm.
image in the intro. I was not about to get rid of that because
Yeah.
it's part of the journey. It's part of the process. And so I think the deleting content you have to look at, is it going to contradict what you're doing? Does it serve the reader, your audience at the end of the day? I mean, I don't know. You don't want to be searching for how to decorate and you go somewhere and it's like, oh, this is on how to become a better writer. Like what?
Right.
So think about it always comes back to that user experience, right? What is it going to feel like to somebody if they come to your site and this is not in alignment with what you say you do and who you are? I hope that helps.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, it does. Kim, thank you so much for your time today. This was a fabulous opportunity for me. I learned so much, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. And I will email you a link to the slides, Lindsay, if you want to share those
Yes,
as well. They're just in Google Slides, so not a problem.
absolutely. I will put that in the email to everyone who registered. So thank you so much and have a good day.
Thanks, guys.